This is a huge day for movie lovers everywhere. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever comes out today. There's also an animated movie to talk about. That might be your thing, maybe a rom-com. We've got everything, and Rad's here to walk us through all of it. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, we have to start with Black Panther. You saw this?
Yes, I did.
And?
Well, I mean, it's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
and of course it's gonna be a lot, right? Like, the filmmakers behind this movie, they had a lot to deal with because they lost their star. They lost Chadwick Boseman. They lost their head. And so, you know, when you have this big popular franchise without its main lead, without the character that the title's named after, well, you're kind of flailing about, right? And the thing is, like, you know, you watch this movie is really like a funeral and a celebration of life, right? Like, that's what they're building into this. And that's a challenge when it's also trying to be a comic book movie, right? It's like, you know, you're trying to pay respect to this guy, but then you got, like, it's almost like being at a funeral, but you're trying to shush those kids in the corner playing with their Iron Man toys. That, you get that sense in this movie. But what's fascinating about this movie is just how the director, Ryan Coogler, he's trying to process grief within the storyline in this movie. So, I mean, the movie is about the Wakandans facing this new threat, this Mayan civilization that lives underwater, where they have characters that look like CGI leftovers from Avatar.
Oh dear.
Yeah, not the best CGI here.
Dear.
But basically, like, you know, while facing this threat, you have the Wakandan people led by Shuri, Black Panther's little sister. You see them, like, kind of reacting out of impulse. You know, you see them, like, you know, acting out of anger for what they've been through, and you know, like, trying to fill a hole in their life. So that's what makes this movie really fascinating. It's just how they're acting to kind of preserve some sort of legacy, and also acting to find some comfort within themselves.
Does it work?
It kind of works. It's fascinating. It's you know, it's more fascinating than your average comic book movie, but it doesn't work as a comic book movie.
Interesting. Okay, so who is this movie for then?
I mean, so I'm thinking of, like, Superman Returns and Eternals, which are movies that people dragged because, yeah, they're kind of messy, but I find them fascinating messes because they tried to grapple with emotions that superhero movies are usually, you know, cowering away from.
Okay, let's talk about Pinocchio.
Specifically Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. His name is in the title.
Right, sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
If I ever do a movie, by the way, I'm totally putting my name in the title.
Radheyan Simonpillai's Mornings with Lindsey.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so tell me about this movie.
So yeah, I mean, look, it's Guillermo del Toro's name is in the title. Guillermo del Toro being the guy who made Pan's Labyrinth. You know that when this guy's playing with fairy tales, he's gonna make them something ghoulish and, you know, grave and stuff, right? So in this Pinocchio, you know, he's not adorable anymore. He's this gnarly-looking piece of a slab of pine with crooked nails coming out of his back. So not at all adorable. And, you know, he's going through some stuff. You know, in this movie, of course he's still dealing with malevolent, like, carnivalesque people and stuff, but he's also dealing with fascists. He's born in Benito Mussolini's fascist era, and he's also dealing with grief because he's replacing Geppetto's lost child. So that's a lot for this movie to handle. That's, I mean, I don't know if you want to take your kids to see this movie. I think it'll be a hard.
That's good to know.
Yeah, like, I mean, I mean, some kids can handle some of the spooky stuff, but then in terms of it processing grief, I don't think they could keep up with this. And so, you know, for me, I'm like, okay, it's not really for kids. It's also not necessarily working for adults because, you know, you got all these big ideas. It's beautiful to look at. I'm fawning over the images.
I was gonna say, at least visually speaking, it's
visually
pretty...
it's stunning, right? Because of stop motion animation and stuff like that. And he's working with the animator from Fantastic Mr. Fox, but I wasn't as intrigued by, you know, following along.
So who is this movie for, Rad?
So this is for people who like movies like Wendell and Wild and Missing Link, which are, again, movies I fawned over, the stop motion movies where I love the animation, but I think they bit off more than they can chew.
Stay the Night, Rad. I'm not asking you directly. This is a movie. This is a movie we're gonna talk about. Talk to me about Stay the Night.
Well, so Stay the Night is playing at the Real Asian Film Festival, right? So, by the way, if you're in Toronto, you could be in Toronto, catch some amazing international cinema at the Real Asian Film Festival. Stay the Night is one that's available to everyone in Canada. It's available digitally. It is a movie where Andrea Brang stars as a woman who hooks up with a hockey player, which I guess is kind of a thing. But she's basically a really shut-in woman who opens up on this lovely night. And I think it really, you know, it's appealing to people who live in a bubble constantly.
Does he stay the night?
I mean, spoiler alert.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Rad, listen, always great to see you. There's a little bit of the trailer for you. Yeah. Good to see you. Have a great weekend.
You too. Have a great weekend.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.